Hey bestie, hey bestie, hey bestie. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. In today's video, I want to show you guys how I learned to do calligraphy quickly and some of my tips, tricks, and advice on how you can instantly improve your calligraphy after watching this video. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is when I started doing calligraphy. And it was actually around a year ago today that I started, because I remember I got into calligraphy when quarantine first happened. So I'm gonna put on the screen right now my first ever attempt at calligraphy. And as you can see, it's not exactly calligraphy, and I'll tell you why. The number one rule when you are doing calligraphy is that your upstrokes are thin and your downstrokes are thick. Now, to learn more about that, you're going to want to stay tuned for a little bit later on in this video where I actually get into depth about how important that is when you do calligraphy. But since this was my first ever attempt, I just wanted to get a grasp onto doing cursive, getting that muscle memory in my hand. And I was pretty proud. I mean, I am still proud of it. It's weird when you first start because it feels forced, your hand movements and everything, but once you do it more and more, it just becomes so natural and easy, and it's just fun and you always want to do it. So yeah, those were my first ever attempts at doing calligraphy. Now I want to talk about my favorite supplies for writing in calligraphy. Our first runner-up are the Tombow brush pens. I don't know who doesn't talk about this supply, especially when they're talking about calligraphy. I feel like it's the most popular brush pen out there, and it is definitely my most used stationery supply. It's my favorite, and I'm gonna tell you guys why. Not only is the Tombow dual brush pen 2 markers in one, but the brush pen tip of it is amazing. It doesn't begin to get frail and just chip off. The colors are super bold and strong in these markers, and I highly recommend these even if you are a beginner. These markers are definitely more expensive than your basic Crayola marker, but for the quality and how long they last, it is so worth it. The next supply that I want to talk about are the Crayola Super Tips. These were the first markers that I ever started out with when I was learning calligraphy, and I also highly recommend these because they are super budget friendly. I think I got the 100 pack for like $15, and at my local Dollarama they have a 50 pack of the Crayola Super Tips for $4. My point is, super budget friendly. I will say with these markers, they are stiffer than the Tombow dual brush pens. And the reason I recommended the Tombow dual brush pens over these is because the Crayola Super Tips will dry out faster, especially when you are applying a lot of force onto them when you're doing your downstrokes. But for the variety of color that you can get with these markers, they are definitely one of my favorite stationery supplies that I own. And my last recommendation is something that I do not hear a lot, but it is the Minami Plus Pen 3000. These are specifically for actually doing fine tip stuff, but I found that you can also use this to do calligraphy. I just love the color variety in these pens. I love how fine tip they are, and you can write really small when you write with these. So now you know what I like to use, but I want you to experiment with whatever you have around your house. That can be a pencil, it can be a pen, and I'm gonna show you how you can even do calligraphy with those kind of supplies. So the first thing I want you to do is write out the alphabet in cursive. There are many different genres of calligraphy, but for the most commonly known one, all you're doing is writing in cursive, but you're making every downstroke thick. So pause this video, write it all in cursive, the alphabet, and once you've done that, we're gonna go on to the next step. Okay, awesome, so you did that. Now we are gonna do our up and down strokes. Think of it as if you're drawing a wave or a roller coaster, a curvy road, whatever helps you envision when it needs to be thinner and when it needs to be thicker. And I want you to practice this motion as much as you feel you need to. And for this third step, it's gonna seem like a big jump, but there's no other way to really break it down than just go for it now. You know that whenever you go down, you need to make it thick. And whenever you go up, you wanna make it thinner. So go for it. Start with the letter A, start with the letter B, whatever letter calls to you, start with that letter first and just go for it, because it's not going to be perfect the first time. And it took a lot of practice for me to get to where I am now within my calligraphy experience and its progression and improvements. So yes, you are writing now, you are going for it, but there's actually a few tips that I wish I knew, because this not only is going to help you instantly improve your calligraphy, but speed up the process of understanding, adapting, and gaining that muscle memory. Tip 1. Do not be afraid to disconnect your lines. It's commonly mistaken that you need to have one solid flow, and that is not the case. It's so much easier when you disconnect your lines, and I didn't realize that I could do that until a month within me doing calligraphy. So as you can see here, I'm going to draw the letter A. I start at the base, I do a big oval shape, take a second to lift my hand off the paper and slightly move it upwards wherever is comfortable, and then I do my lines separately. Disconnecting your lines and your alphabets is going to make it so much easier, because if you're just doing it in one flow, it's not only going to be messy, but it's going to feel uncomfortable when you're writing it, because you're going to have to keep moving your hand quickly to catch up with what you're writing. Tip number 2. This is what made my calligraphy go from this to this. Curve your lines. It looks so much nicer, so much fancier and professional, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's use the letter H for example. So I'm going to write it here just normal and probably as most people would write it. So the first line that becomes thick, or my first downstroke in this letter, is perfectly straight. But this time, I'm going to rewrite it and I'm going to make it curved. Do you see how much nicer that looks? That's personally my opinion. When I look at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, this looks so much nicer with the alphabet. But it's totally up to you. If you want to do straight, do straight. If you want to curve it, curve it. So you guys, that was my quick little tutorial on how to learn calligraphy fast and how to instantly improve your calligraphy. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me, comment down below. I want to help you guys achieve your perfect calligraphy, because it's so much fun to do in your notes and just when you write anything. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!